Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. So, kind of weird streaming tonight, but it's not my story to tell. But I'd like to ask everyone here to send out their kind and loving intentions for our good friend Dan at Overwatch channel and Overwatch Project, overwatchproject.com. He's going through some stuff right now, and again, it's not my story to tell, but I think he can use everybody's kind intentions for a week of healing. And Dan, if you're out there, I've been thinking about you a lot, and I'm pulling for you, buddy. So, all right. This one is a replay from June of this year. I think only about 300 or 400 of you saw it, maybe. Could even be less, I don't remember. But I go over, is karma a hoax? Karma is a hoax. And you're going to hear me... anyways, I'm gonna play the video. We'll just get it going, and there's only about, I'd say, oh, sorry, something go off there. And there's going to be an additional about maybe 15, 20 minutes of commentary at the end that ended up, my mic ended up flipping off, and all right, I'm going to keep going. Let's just get into it. Not in the right headspace. Anyways, saying he's blocked for 3 years, but it's and you listen to it. Sorry, one moment. With him, a few others, so we're going to be getting into a interview with Hans Wilhelm. Now, he's pretty well known. I'm sure many of you are already familiar with him. He makes the rounds, has a YouTube channel, does animations with those channels. He's got some books. So, you know, he's been around a long time. He was definitely part of my journey at one point. And, you know, when you listen to it, when you're kind of in the thick of it all, it makes sense, right? At least in your head. But in my opinion, that can only last so long, right? And you know, I think he means well. I also think the host of the channel that we're going to be listening to, from Next Level Soul, I think, you know, he is well, you know, his heart's in the right place. But it seems so easy for us to just kind of accept blindly what's going on. Oh, the chat's members only? What the hell? Hold on. Okay. Anyways, saying he's blocked for 3 years, but it's sorry to derail there. So going to I'm sorry, let me just kind of rewind a little bit. Got a little distracted. You know, the whole thing with karma, sinning, judgment, repenting, all this stuff are concepts learned here from a very young age most of the time. and along with many other belief systems, right? It's a perfect storm down here because all of these ideologies that are pushed and transferred generation after generation is a big part of the problem. And then, of course, we have our limited perception that is inherently part of the human experience. The human body is, acts as a governor on our true essence and prevents us from being able to fully realize who and what we are. Then you add into the whole narrative about karma as well and how this plays a role. Now, mind you, if you're supposed to learn and grow and ascend and all that stuff based on, looks like my internet might have went out. Okay, I'm back. Okay, thank you. Oh my God, it's always something. Anyways, and I know YouTube seems okay. Odyssey and it's gonna really, it is a perfect storm. It's designed in a way where, if karma was legitimate, and mind you, if we came here and were able to retain our memories, for one, things weren't so freaking batshit insane as well, and there was some sort of lesson or growth plan involved with this whole experience, then it would be different. But that's not what's going on. So the whole thing with karma being legitimate falls by the wayside. And I think you're really going to enjoy this talk and kind of how we're going to break it down. So let's just get right into it because we got quite a bit to go over. Hoping I can make it through as much as possible.
I'd like to welcome to the show Hans Wilhelm. How you doing, Hans?
Oh, very well. Thank you, Alex. Delighted to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm excited to talk to you. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a few weeks ever since we booked it because it's I love the work that you're doing. I love the straightforwardness of your answers to these deep questions about life and where we're at. But my very first question to you is, my friend, how did you start your spiritual journey, or when did you start your spiritual journey?
Oh, I think I started very young when I was in Germany, grew up, and I didn't believe what was taught in the churches. Somehow they never answered the question, where do we come from, why we're here, and where we are going. Mm-hmm. So I kept on searching, and then thanks to the Beatles, I discovered Maharishi and the TM thing, which I no longer do, but it did help me a lot because it gave me a lot of courage, self-respect, and so on and so on. Then I left for Africa, and there I learned Edgar Cayce, and then later came to America, and lots of other spiritual paths. And then it's a great fortune to work together with Byron Katie and Dr. Kübler-Ross and so on. So it's a long venture, and I studied many, many different paths. And for the last 40 years or so, I've been mainly linked to some deeply mystical Christian spiritual paths, from where most of the information that I share in my videos are coming from.
Okay, so, right away, he is saying, it's coming from, it's like Christian mystic information. And if you do watch his videos, that is exactly what you're going to connect to, or at least perceive. But there's a lot of other things. There's influences from Rudolf Steiner. He even talks about Edgar Cayce. I know there's a few others as well, but already we're talking about ideologies that are completely in line with the system. I mean, these things have been around. They're not new. So it's just packaged very well, and really helps further the narrative that is this whole experience on Earth to keep individuals here. Thanks, Joyce. Love you too, sister. Okay.
So that's basically in a nutshell. So I've always been looking for it. I always wanted to understand the bigger picture. That was my important things. Why are we here, etc., and where we are going to. That was most important for me to know.
And it's really interesting to illustrate what you kind of want to point a little bit about what you just said, is that you tried a buffet of different paths to the truth. And that's something that some people need to listen to, because it's not just like you find it and like, oh, this is it. This is the only thing I found it. Some people are lucky that way, but I think you become more well-rounded when you start to study multiple traditions and to start looking for the common denominators to really sink in the truth. Do you agree?
Fully agree. You have to find out what resonates with you. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of stuff which I believed even on this path, later I changed my mind on it. But at that time, I had to understand that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be ready for the next step. So there are a lot of stuff which I no longer really would say this is what I believe, because, but at the time, 10, 20 years, 50 years ago, I believed it very strongly. But it has changed, and that is fine. That is the normal, gradual way of reawakening.
Absolutely. I mean, couldn't have said it any better. I think it's exactly what most, if not all of us go through. We all have these different types of paths. We pick up different information, weave in and out of various religions or spiritual paths or whatever the case may be. And I really believe that a true seeker is can never be fully content with the options available to them. Now, that does not to say that information in various spiritual practices and religions and beliefs and all that stuff are all horrible, because it's just not the case. Funny enough, we were just talking about this in the members Discord server. And we were talking about how Gnosticism, the New Age, Zen Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, at least for me, these were the things that I connected with heavily and have helped me along my path in a big, big way. And some of the things learned in them continue to help me. So there's always going to be bits and pieces of truth everywhere, no matter where you go. But I think, again, kind of being content with, I'm just going to say it flat out, the lazy answer, the matrix answer, only does an injustice to the seeker. And I think anyone who just keeps looking and looking and looking, and regardless of where they are at their life in any given moment, spiritually, the seeking really never ends. And there's a reason for that, because the system doesn't want us to come to the harsh truth, right? I mean, look at Gnosticism, look at Buddhism, look at Hinduism. I know I'm missing maybe one or two others, but the point is these are soul trap type religions. They're soul trap practice, ideologies, I guess. I mean, but it's all packaged in a certain way for public consumption. And you got to ask yourself, all those things, they hit home very close to the truth, but cut short where it really matters. Ask yourself, why is that? Why is that? Why are there those types of religions or belief systems out there that do lead you to massive truth, but cut you off right at the end where it matters, or maybe sooner? But the point is it's the system knows. The system freaking knows that there are going to be individuals like all of us asking the big questions about what the hell is going on in this wacko reality. And so, oh, well, you just need enlightenment, or you need to, continue reincarnating to help others avoid reincarnating. You know what I mean? Or it's karma, it's this and that. I mean, the whole purpose is to let go of all attachments and everything, which is true. But the point is it's all packaged in a way for us to continue to lose ourselves. So it's really some diabolical crap going on, and it couldn't be more obvious. It's right in our faces. Why of all these different types of thinking are there soul trappy topics out there for public consumption in the mainstream? Because it's running interference on us. That's just the bottom line. Yeah, this is my opinion, but there's a reason for all of this. And the belief in karma is a big, big hindrance for all of us. And we're going to get more into that as we move along.
I don't think we learn anything new. All we are doing is reawaken what we know deep down in us. And there may be some detours necessary, but basically the more we search, the more we will find out what is it truly who we are and why we are here.
And the concept of remembering as opposed to being taught is such a powerful one, because as I keep speaking to mystics and spiritual masters like yourself, I keep understanding more and more that we too remember more than we are taught things. And that's why when the concept of reincarnation was first brought into my existence, I said, oh, that makes sense. It was a remembering of like, that makes much more sense than this other stuff that I've been learning in the Catholic Church for the last, 20 years. I'm like, this makes more sense to me because it rings true to me. So it's that remembering that's extremely powerful. And so, in other words, the cup is not empty and needs to be full. The cup has been full since you were born. You just have to open up the key to get access to it. And that you do by evolving and awakening more and more, correct?
That's very true. And I had the very same response as you had when I first time came in contact with the Edgar Cayce material, who spoke about, of course, reincarnation, that God, that Christ taught reincarnation. I had the same thing. Oh my God, now everything makes sense. Suddenly I know why somebody got sick, rich, poor, and so on. And it was just a revelation, as you said. It was a reawakening of what I had known deep down in myself for a long time, but nobody taught me before.
And isn't it interesting that at least when coming from the same perspective as both you and I did, that you only had the one life, and you only, if you happen to be born rich, lucky you. If you happen to be born good looking, lucky you. But if you were born, without a leg, that's bad luck. But that's all you have. Yeah, and that never made sense to me. I was like, man, that's pretty crappy universal odds.
Yeah, and then speaking that God is love and then allows things like this makes no sense. You cannot in one way speak of a loving God and then think that the one lifetime only people have it sometimes very bad and others have it very good.
Okay, so honestly, it's incredible. It's incredible to hear this come out of both their mouths. And again, no offense to either of them. I know they're doing their thing and they got their own paths and whatever the case may be, right? But you ask the big questions up front and center. What about all the suffering? What about all the horrible crap that happens to the individual? Well, again, I know I bring this example up a lot, but imagine being born in North Korea. I mean, imagine being born in the slums of India, and not having running water or food on your table, or fighting to get water, or having to walk through sewage every day. I mean, there's all sorts of horrors. And then, of course, there's physical violence, mental and physical sexual abuse, all that stuff, right? So, I mean, the obvious questions are being asked, but at the same time, here comes the excuse train. It's about to be rolling on in. The cognitive dissonance, the Stockholm syndrome on steroids, unfortunately.
It doesn't make sense. But the churches, unfortunately,
If you happen to be born rich, lucky you. If you happen to be born good looking, lucky you. But if you were born, without it made sense to me. I was like, man.
yeah, and then speaking that God is love and then allows things like this makes no sense. You cannot in one way speak of a loving God and then think that the one lifetime only people have it sometimes very bad and others have it very good. That doesn't make sense. But
what about just not having multiple lifetimes? Why does there have to be many, many lifetimes? I mean, the hard truth of everything is that we've probably all been here many, many, many times. That is insanity. Insanity.
the churches unfortunately had to teach it because, as you know, reincarnation was taken out forcefully in the, I think, 6th century by an emperor, not even by a pope. And therefore, all the other Christian denominations, which later broke off from the Catholic Church, never changed that and never corrected it. So they all picked up the same idea that reincarnation is not true. It's not in the Christian teaching, but it was. Christ taught reincarnation. We do have enough evidence for that one. And unfortunately, it's just no longer taught in the organized religion.
So for people who are listening to this for the first time, this concept of reincarnation, why do we reincarnate?
Because we are such fools.
Yeah, exactly. We're fools. Let's go with the first answer. Because we're fools. That's the truth right there. We decided to come into this dumpster fire and got lost. You know, we probably thought, oh, well, you know, hey, how bad could it be? Right? Everyone in the multiverse is warning us not to probably come here, but we come here because we're nuts. Or something Dan and I were talking about on the phone today is how, you know, Monroe talked about how, you know, we can get bored. Maybe we want to experience like something really extreme or different. And if you don't have the context for what it is to be human, what it is to be on Earth and experience everything, all the trappings that come along with it, if you don't have something to measure it up against, experience-wise, as an eternal being, then you're not going to know that it's as messed up as it is. And then once you get here, oh, well, you're conveniently memory wiped and all the attachments come in and everything else we've talked about 1,000 times just continues to degrade your essence over and over and over again. And that's exactly what the system's all about. Degrading us, getting us addicted to the sensory experience, and hoping that we don't wake up.
we just want a beating. We just want to continue to be beaten.
Yeah.
Well, there are many reasons
funny.
why a soul reincarnates. Of course, one thing can be really to re-enjoy the physical life, because in the spiritual life, we don't have physical body, and certain things like sex and other pleasures are difficult to really fulfill up there. These are sort of people who come back here for this pleasure. Others come here to help other souls to really grow and assist them. Others come here to actually explore this universe and this life here. But the majority of people in this lifetime, my understanding is come here to clear up our old messed up karma. That is our main reason. We come here for an average of only less than 800,000 hours each time, which is extremely short. Consider that we are eternal beings.
Okay, you can frame it up as short all you want, but when you're stuck in time inside the human meat suit and subjected to the environment and the insanity that ensues here, regardless of whether it's a couple 100,000 hours or 800,000 hours, it's nuts. And then to think that doing it again on any level is sane, logical, or right is just batshit insane.
And in these very short times, we are entering what I call the school of the Earth School. And we are here to undo our karma, because when we look at our life, whatever we experience our life from morning till evening is nothing but a rewinding of our film, of our life film, which means anything that we have done in the past or thought in the past, hurt other people or spoke to, comes back to us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's part of the scam. That's part of the scam. And again, I mean no ill will to the host of Next Level Soul. I think he's a pretty good guy. I really do. I mean, he's got every time I watch his videos, he's donating to the hungry. I mean, I think that's awesome. You know, I don't know anything about the charity, and I'm always hesitant with any charities that would be big named ones. But like his heart is in the right place, right? And I don't remember where the heck my point was with all this, but let me just rewind it a little bit. I'm sorry. Lime brain.
It's nothing but a rewinding of our film, of our life film.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The life script, right? I mean, the how we come here, and every single second of every single day, of every single minute, of every single month, of every single year is recorded. Okay, and that's a fact. Okay, near-death experiences prove that. Shared death experiences prove that. Even breakthrough trip reports prove that. And I'm sure there's some other ones I'm missing at the moment, but even OBEs, you can even astral project and experience something like that. You know, it's all of these things point towards every single moment being recorded while we're here. And what will happen is you, when you cross over, at least if you're going along with the Matrix, or if you have an NDE or any of the other ones I just listed, then you will be subjected to a life review. And that life review is part of the karmic trap. And all it does is nitpick, right? I mean, it's going to make you feel good, but it's also going to shame you. You're going to live the experience of someone you may have wronged through that individual. So you're going to feel all the emotions. You're going to experience everything from their perspective. And then the interesting thing we've pointed out quite a few times, with the exception, I think, of the most recent NDE I went over. Pretty sure it was the most recent one, or one of the last few videos I did. All of these, like the good things that the system points out in the life review, are usually lame as hell, or like very forgettable. I mean, I brought up examples like, someone dropped a quarter in the street when, you know, you were 15 years old, and you picked up the quarter and gave it back to him. Or you, whatever. Think of like the most mundane thing ever. And for some reason, the Matrix likes to pick these obscure moments for the good things that an individual should be proud of. Now, you know, make of that what you will. But when it comes to the negative stuff, right? The stuff that you need to atone for, well, you're going to experience it full on in the, through the other person that you've hurt, through their eyes, through their emotions, all that stuff, which is all part of the fear, guilt, shame matrix. Part of the false perception of karma being authentic when it's nothing at all authentic.
Which means anything that we have done in the past or thought in the past, hurt other people or spoke to, comes back to us. Everything comes back to us in small portions. We call it the day's energy, so that we now have the opportunity to clear it up. So therefore, now I suddenly get sick. Now suddenly cuts me off in the traffic. Now suddenly I get this awful email. Suddenly this and things happens. These are all elements that we have once sown, which are coming back from the causal computer. This is where our karma is stored, coming back to us right now so that we can clear it up. The main purpose here in life is not to become smarter, wiser, and so on, but basically to clear up all our karma, which holds us back to this life, to this vibration, the earth or world vibration. So we have to free ourselves. So every day is carefully orchestrated by ourselves, for the pure and sole purpose of freedom.
All right, so can I just ask this question? I've asked it before, but all of you out there can feel free to put it in the chat, or if you're listening to the replay, the comment section. What the hell is raising your vibration even mean? You know, I've been on the spiritual path for a while, and I even tangoed with the new age and all sorts of stuff, right? And all we hear, raise your vibration, raise your vibration. You mean, does raise your vibration just mean you become self-aware? Because that's really what it seems to mean. What does raise your vibration actually mean? To this day, I don't think I've ever gotten a logical answer to that question. It's tossed around all the time. But what does it mean? What does it mean? Oh boy, I think, okay, I wasn't muted. Okay, good. Anyways, you know, I really think it just boils down to the individual being self-aware. That's it. Want to thank T so much for your very kind 10 gifts of memberships. I appreciate you, my friend, and it's always good
being down here to become wiser or more sage-like depends on the soul and its blueprint that it's laid out for itself. Some people do walk that path to become yogis or spiritual masters in their lifetime. Others come down here to like, man, I did a lot of bad in the last go around. I gotta give a lot of good in this one to clear that up. It all is relative to where that soul is in its evolution. And I love what you said about the vibration, because it's something that's so core to everything we're talking about, is to raise our vibration higher to actually come back to source, where something like hate and anger is a very low, dense, slow vibration, where love is extremely high. Forgiveness, being service to others, these are high vibrational energies, getting you closer and closer to God or the source energy, correct?
Okay, so before he answers that, I'll rewind it just a little bit, but I think it's important to say, like, if you want a spiritual experience, and again, I'm not a doctor, this is no medical advice at all. If you want a spiritual experience, or perhaps even an OBE, just fast. Just do a water fast for a few days. You'll get it. You know, maybe you won't get it the first time, but you will get something formative out of that. And detoxing the body helps tremendously to achieve opening up yourself, right? And I highly recommend it. I do. But it's not for everyone, right? So, you know, make of it what you will. But I think I personally do not advise dry fast in any way, shape, or form. I think there's a lot of bad information out there on dry fast. Simple water fast. That's it. You know, get yourself some alkaline water, distilled water, whatever the case may be. Get a nice big jug, and whenever you're hungry, you just drink the water, and you know, try to do what you got to do for a few days, and you'd be shocked at what can occur. So just something to consider, but not advice, just suggestion.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's in our hand. As I said, we are here. The only thing we have to do here is to love, nothing else.
Right.
And when we do the love, we learn to forgive. We have no resentment. We clear up anything that comes here, and we conquer it with love. It sounds so simplistic. It isn't easy, but it is. It's love is all that which matters. And through love, we set ourselves free, and not only ourselves, but everybody else around us whom we have hurt or who have hurt us. So the freedom is all around, because freedom is the main goal for me, and I think for all of us. And love is the key. And
all right, so what we're hearing here is that, okay, liberation is what everyone desires, everyone wants, but in order to achieve that, it involves love. It involves belief in God. It involves belief in authority figures or a hierarchy that is above you that you have to answer to. That is the stripped down translation of what we're listening to. And I mean, the thing I kind of like to put forward is that, you know, I don't pretend to have all the answers, never have, never will. I realize that part of this whole experience that we're going through is that it is literally impossible for any one individual or even many individuals to have answers to all of the questions. So there has to be that stripping down and acceptance of what is. Being in the human meat suit, even exploring outside the body and having incredible experiences, for as amazing as that can all be, you're still connected to this realm. You're still somehow involved with this experience. And manipulation can occur. But at the same time, you can go outside your body and prove to yourself that you are 1,000,000,000% a creator being capable of going your own way, right? You can rid yourself of any negative entities. You can weave in and out of different realities if you want. You can create your own reality, and you can turn negative entities into, you can have some gnarly looking weirdo entity, taunting you or something. And you can literally use your intention as a creator being to either banish it or turn it into something like a kitten or a puppy. Like you have that power. That is something you can go and prove to yourself on your own with just, a little bit of effort. But it's there and available to you. And that's the beauty, is that these are the things I try to talk about on this channel. It's common sense stuff, and it's things that you can go out and prove to yourself. Don't take my word for anything I say. Go out, do the research. The soul trap is the most important truth bomb of this entire existence. And all it takes is, in my opinion, depending on how long you've been looking into experiencer things and maybe doing out-of-body work on some level, I think it takes a couple of years. Not long, a couple of years, but for some it may be a lot less. It depends how much time you have available to you to invest in looking at all this. But the one thing you'll start to see is how BS the narratives are, not just here on Earth, but with experiencer cases. And it's not just NDEs either. It's all there. There's over 20 different topics and subtopics related to this, and it all funnels into the same thing. And the beauty of it is we live in an age where we have access to all this information. So again, don't trust me. Don't take my word for it. I promise if you do take the time on your own to go and research all of this stuff, you'll see what we're talking about. And hopefully, I look forward to maybe seeing a message a couple of years from now saying, hey, what you were talking about helped. And I see now what you're talking about. Like you have like a firm inner knowing versus like, oh, well, Soul Trap makes sense, but I'm still not 100% sure, so, you don't want to be pawning yourself off to a matrix, quote unquote, God or deity, any of that stuff. You want to be able to get rid of all those types of thinking so that when the time comes, boom, you're out of here at the time of natural death and there's nothing to even worry about.
We can do this through forgiveness, feeling remorse and repentance, which I think is very important. And of course, no longer doing the negative, unloving behavior, thinking, speaking, acting.
So as the Beatles say, all you need is love.
It is so simple. It sounds so trite, so awful. And yet, the more books you study and everything, in the end, this is it. There's only one rule, and that is love. And there is nothing else. We make a lot of words and a lot of texts and a lot of movies and a lot of books are written and so on. But it always comes back to that, it says. And basically it says, do that what you are. We are love. And by becoming and doing love, we are totally ourselves. And then we are also, as you said earlier, go into a higher vibration and return back to source energy, which is pure love.
Isn't it fascinating that
Okay. So did you hear that? Source energy or source is pure love. That's a translation, which is exactly in line with NDEers. The light is God. The light is source. The light is creator. And the light is freaking love. It's the same narrative over and over and over again. And a blind faith and a blind trust to a entity, an AI, a computer, whatever you want to call it, emitting a certain type of frequency that is very, very appealing. Like love, the love bomb specifically. It's very hypnotic. It's like a drug dealer. I don't know, but I think common sense should dictate that, if you are aware of your surroundings on even the most minuscule level, about what the hell is the wackiness that is the Earth experience. If you're aware on even the smallest level, then you got to ask yourself, like, if when I die and cross over and go to the light and I'm being told everything is love and that God, source, creator is love, then how can it justify what occurs here, right? There is no justification. So you have to remember that the one that's pawning itself off as the big kahuna is responsible for your recent existence that you just left from, which is the Earth experience, right? It's insane. We have to just think bigger. And where did we all just happen to get the narrative that God, creator, source exists in the first place? Here. That's all learned here. Now, am I saying there isn't a grand creator or source or God out there that's like the origin point for all of us? Or, I don't know. That's, again, goes to the point what I was saying earlier. I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. But I do know that the whole God, source, creator narrative is heavily, heavily pushed in the deceptive realm that I am presently experiencing. So, again, just ask yourself, if all this mass deception and suffering and pain, everything that's happening here, and of course there's love and happiness and joy, there's all that stuff, the dualistic insanity, right? That goes on here. All that happens. And then when you die, the first thing you experience is, you know, either something in the void for a little while, and it could be unpleasant, or it could be perfectly peaceful. But it's part of the matrix system. The matrix is, in my opinion, carbon copied something like a void that we're familiar with. And some go there based on their belief systems, maybe on what they feel they deserve, which some think that they're going to go to hell, this and that, blah, blah. And then, of course, you have the bulk of experiencers, shared death experiencers even, who witness their loved ones cross over, and they're, boom, right with the source, the creator, the God, and it's every time it's the light, and everything's about love, and the life review, and this and that. Don't you think that it would just be smarter to not blindly trust that? And if it is true, see, like, to me, like, I put out there constantly, like, if everything is all it's cracked up to be, if everything is about love, right? If everything is about love, then reason would dictate that, you know, if you didn't want to go and experience that love right after you left here, then there shouldn't be a problem with that. Why should you feel any need whatsoever to just go with the flow and hope, have faith in something that you know nothing about? But it may seem familiar to you, right? It may try to drag you in. And all you got to do is just say, no. Hell to the no. Let's see, 14 digital, which in talk, it was far journey. Adjusting. It was talk.
Sorry about that, guys.
Or how much loose we produced. And
okay,
all you got to do.
Just going to back that up just a little bit, okay? Want to thank David Rollman for the very kind super chat. Says, Mark, thank you for all you do. Please give Dan my best. I certainly will, Dave. Thank you. Uwu also, thank you so much for this kind super chat as well. Says, is there any correlation between having an inner monologue or lack thereof and being awake to the truths we study? All the best, Mark. You know, Dan did a great video on that, actually. I'll try and find that, but I think he did it maybe this summer. I'll try and drop a link to that. I definitely think he's on to something with that. I think a lot of people don't want to admit to an inner monologue, but there is a certain percentage of the population that don't have that. And it begs the question, what's that all about, right? I mean, it can even hint towards the NPC thing, right? Who knows? But there's definitely a case to be made possibly about that. I mean, it's an interesting thought, no doubt. So, yeah, I'll try and find Dan's video and link it for you. Thanks again. I appreciate that. Okay. And thank you, David. You just say no. Hell to the no. Let's see. 14 Digital said, I wonder if they record how much loose we produce during our suffering. Pain, ridiculed lives. Just saying. Yeah, I mean, I think they do. Like in the, which in Monroe's book, I think he talked about how they kept continually, I think it was Far Journey is the second book, how they continually keep adjusting over and over and over again to get the maximum output possible for the Loosh production. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what happened.
We tend to complicate things down here a lot. Yes, it's a specialty of ours here. The ego is to complicate things, but at the end of the day, you are absolutely right. And again, from the perspective that I'm sitting in this chair, from talking to so many people from so many different walks of life, all talking about similar concepts, the simplest conversation or the simplest ideas are the most powerful. And if you look back to Christ, Yogananda, Buddha, these ideas that they put out into the world were simple, basic ideas. Do unto others as you would like to do unto you. Simple, basic, not 5 paragraphs or 6 pages or a book or two about, well, if you do this, no, just simple, correct?
Absolutely. My teacher always said, God is ingenious simplicity. And I found this very powerful because whenever we usually make so much about it, we are in our intellect. We are using a lot of intellectual stuff, which we have picked up, and then we make it complicated, and then we get exhausted. But if we go within ourselves, calm our mind and so on, go within, because the kingdom of God is in us. We don't have to go anywhere far out. It's all there. We have everything. That's where the stillness is, where the quietness is. And that's where the simplicity is. The intelligence is simplicity. The intellect is complication.
And it's really interesting too, going back a little bit to what we were saying in regards to our origin stories, if you will, with the Catholic Church. I always found it so interesting that you could have a God that loved you, but yet was so angry. And to be honest with you, in the Old Testament, fairly egotistical. I mean, like, if you don't bow down.
Keep in mind that the Old Testament was around first, right? For as screwed up as it is, it's a more honest account of, I guess we can say, the demiurge, right? Or the chief parasite, or perhaps the AI system that's being worshipped. I don't know. Just putting it out there. It's like, remember, the whole damn thing was switched and edited and changed. So you're taking something that has been released to the public for public consumption in hopes of winning them over. And then at some point, there is an edit made and a new version comes out, the New Testament, whatever. I mean, I'm not some religious scholar, but I mean, I know the basics. And, well, it's edited, right? And we know other things were taken out. There's all sorts of different biblical chapters missing that should be filling in the gaps that have been removed and since brought out and exposed, at least to our understanding. I mean, who knows what a hoax is as far as that goes, right? But the point is you're seeing in the Old Testament a nasty, vile, disgusting SOB of a God. Up front and center, you're seeing exactly what this SOB is all about, right? And then, the Matrix comes along at some point, and it's too harsh, too harsh. We got to make God and Jesus and everything look a little better, right? It's a smart business decision, right? You don't want everything doom and gloom all the time. You need to have a proper balance. And again, the best thing I can suggest to every single one of you listening is always try, I mean, I know it's difficult, but always try to put your eyes, your ears, your common sense, and in a different, shift it to as if you were running this place as a diabolical jerk off, right? What would you do? I mean, I think what's happening right now is an amazing example of it. And, what types of restrictions would you put forward to make sure that certain things don't come out? or that if it does come out, it's controlled and limited, or geared towards certain religious beliefs, on and on and on. Like you kind of contain everything on a macro, micro level. And then in turn, you have a higher chance of the scam not being exposed.
To me, you will be this or that, or hell, God forbid, let's talk about hell. All of these concepts, it didn't make any sense to me. And when you become a parent, you understand that this makes no sense. There's nothing our children would do, that we would damn them to everlasting damnation. And so if I can't do it, how could our creator do that? It just didn't make sense to me. And they're talking, one side of their mouth is saying, love is all you need. And they're like, but if you don't do this,
eternal damnation. Yeah. Oh, well, that's what I realized very soon. This does not work for me. You're absolutely right. Yeah, this doesn't work. I mean, the old writers of the Bible and so on, the only model they had were the pharaohs. And the pharaohs were, of course, very egoistic, personal, power-hungry, vengeful kind of creatures. And that is, so the Old Testament God is very much sketched on a way how a pharaoh was at the time. So we have got this very human kind of faulty human being, and projected that on that God. And it was Christ who tried to put it right. As God is love and God is in us. And he put it right, but there was still so many stuffs in the organization, religion, which they changed so much. And as Jerome, who put this whole Bible together, he said, if ever people find out, won't there be, I'm a forger, I am a liar by putting all these contradicting texts together. It's very difficult because to put all these various texts from which the Bible is now made up together and find something consensual which agrees on everything, and it isn't. They're all full of contradiction, left, right, and center. And our organized churches, of course, use all these different little things which suit them and other things which don't suit them. So that's why stay within yourself. The church is in you. God is in you. You don't have to go join any organization. You don't have to go to any kind of priest, rabbi, or whatever, unless you really feel, and that's where you find some comfort and so on. There's nothing wrong to go there if that is somebody. If you are in a difficult situation, you have no one else to go, you may want to go to somebody. It's possible, yeah. Everybody has a purpose, but the idea is to be free also from these world man-made kind of restrictions, which we find in the religion.
right.
I mean, can we just be blunt about this? I mean, you want to be free of religions and dogmatic thinking and all that stuff, but this is exactly what's being conveyed in this conversation the entire time. Again, no offense to either of them. They're just doing their thing and falling in line with the Matrix unknowingly, most likely. But I don't know. It's like, let's just be honest, right? Let's just talk about this in the chat or in the comment section afterwards. You already have certain narratives that have been put out by the Matrix over and over and over again. And then all you're doing is taking a little twist at this point on Mystical Avenue and, rearranging what you already know. And it makes you feel comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, so there's this, there's that. And what is it? It's something that's already familiar to you because you've learned it. Or you've fallen into it and it connects with you because this is exactly what the Matrix wants you to think. It wants you to think that there's a hierarchical structure, that you basically have no control. Let's just be honest. I know they don't say that, but as you kind of listen, like you hear how, the whole point is to liberate yourself, right? But
it's always liberating yourself within the belief systems and structures that are already here inside the overall matrix system. So you're taking those belief systems and applying them to, quote unquote, liberate yourself within the matrix system itself, which is not real liberation. That's just blind belief. That's going along and taking something you've learned here and rolling the dice and hoping that everything's going to be all right, instead of taking the path of non-interference, sovereignty, liberation, creating your own realm, and do what you need to do for yourself. Give yourself some space, some quote unquote time to rediscover yourself and see what the hell happens. Because that's all I talk about on the channel. It's like, just see what happens. That's it. That's my only message.
And I love the idea what you said is like, you know, these are egotistical things that we apply to our gods. I mean, you could just look at the Greeks. I mean, the entire mythology of Greek gods, which were religion for them at the time, was all human frailties. The pharaohs did the same thing with the Egyptian gods. I mean, all these gods all had these kind of human frailties because that's all we can conceive. But
how is it any different? I mean, really, that's the big question. How is any of this different? It's all the same stuff. It's just repackaged and twisted and sent in a way where it's easy to, I guess, throw in the towel and give away your power. You know, either knowingly or unknowingly. I don't know.
Concept that, oh, it's all love. That's all it is. And, oh, by the way, if you want to connect to God, it's inside of you. What? Can you imagine? What? I can't make money that way.
You point the finger on the true essence.
I mean, how can I put golden walls around my castle if everything's within you and you don't have to come to me for that? Like, you just, as the old saying says, just follow the money.
yes, unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, it's true. It's like, follow the money. A lot of times it's just like, oh, well, I have to do this in order to do that. No, you don't.
There are all these rituals as well, which connected what the religions have, organized religions. The rituals are binding us as well. Mm-hmm. They may sound very wonderful and ethereal, but basically they're all binding kind of things to worldly kinds of things, and also the old programs and so on. And, it's all holding us back. We are not living in the here and now if we cling too much to the old kind of history of either a tribe, a religion, or whatever. So we are here, happening right now. Now let's be in the here and now, and the guidance, what we have to do, comes right now.
Now, let me ask, this is a question I get asked all the time. Why would you choose to incarnate into a sickly body, a damaged body, a body that is going to be part of an abusive family or thrown into an abusive,
Okay, so just going to say, buckle up. I'm going to rewind it just a little bit. But wait till you see the rings and the hoops that they're both trying to go through in this conversation. Again, no offense, but it's amazing to see.
Now, let me ask, this is a question I get asked all the time. Why would you choose to incarnate into a sickly body, a damaged body, a body that is going to be part of an abusive family or thrown into an abusive, religion or community that kind of just pounds you and pounds you? Like, why would you choose that? Like, that's hard for the egoic mind here to understand, to choose to go through a fire. But I'd love to hear what you think.
Well, I think you are a father, a parent. If one of your children is very, very sick, really sick, and maybe die, maybe you want to say, oh, God, rather take me, but don't take my child. You will, as a father, you have this loving feeling for that child. Mm-hmm. Now, there are souls on the other side who see that their soul who are they close to have fallen very deeply and have created enormous karma. They take sometimes on the karma of another person. We can do that and incarnate on their behalf so that that the other person's soul can proceed faster in the purification spheres. There are a lot of souls who have incarnated in extremely unfortunate situations, handicapped situations mostly, who are not actually the souls who have created the karma, who have but taken on the karma.
Okay, so keep what he just said in mind. Keep this in mind, because so he's saying oftentimes those who are experiencing the hardships, they're taking on the karma of others while they're here. But then it also goes into how everything is still based on your karma, and well, does that kind of take away the fact that regardless of if some other being took your karma on and suffered a miserable life, but you're still coming here and experiencing misery, right? On some level, yeah, you could have a better life script or an easier life in general during that time. But chances are you're sure as hell not going to, because the system sets up the fear, guilt, shame matrix. I mean, that's its bread and butter. And it shows us, it openly exposes itself to us through the data patterns and with the past life regressions, the pre-birth memories, even shared death experiences and after-death communication. On some level, all those things prove beyond a doubt that there is a diabolical system in play. It's got a certain set of parameters, and based on how you acted in this lifetime or in the most recent previous lifetime, or maybe even a few lifetimes, that, you know, you need to atone. You need to make up for those things. But we can, again, go even further and say, well, what clown, what jerk off thought that this human body is the end all be all for lessons learned in your spiritual evolvement? It just doesn't make sense.
Of another soul who is so low on energy, who could not even incarnate anymore. So there's this one thing. I mean, this is only one person. That's why we should never look at a person who says, oh, he must have had a bad karma. No, it's never, ever should be. Anyway, it's not our business to speculate why anybody has whatever misfortune. But this is one important point to really stop us to ever think about why a person who is handicapped or very disfortunate or is raped or whatever, why does he or she go through that? But of course, there is a lot of negativity that we accumulate or can have accumulated in past lifetimes. We can have been murderers, rapists, killers, sadists like hell. We have done some of 1,000 lifetimes. I mean, this is enormous.
Okay, so see, you notice how the question started off with, well, how do you explain this? I don't remember exactly what it was, but like we first heard the comfort answer. The comfort answer was that, oh, well, the reason why, some are confined to a wheelchair or, are deformed or, you pick it, right? Well, that's because they're taking on some of your karma. They're taking on some other individual's karma. And when they come here, they suffer on a mass scale for you because they love you.
Now, what type of idiot would agree to that? Who would agree to that? I mean, anyone who has been here before would clearly not agree to come down and be confined to a wheelchair or have, you know, be beat by their parents or whatever the case may be, right? You pick the depravity and apply it, and you say, why would any other being take on the karmic load for somebody else and just kind of let them skate by? And in reality, nobody skates by because, you know, again, we're not trying to belittle anyone who has a rougher life script. But the point is if you're human, the absolute bona fide truth is that no matter how good your life may be, you're in a human meat suit, you have limited perception, and you're prone to pain and suffering and duality, right? So just common sense.
In those lifetimes and in the Middle Ages, as you probably may imagine, it was a rough life. It's not like USA at the moment here. We have got a little bit of problem, but compared to the Middle Ages, you couldn't even go from one village to the other without being robbed
or killed.
Okay, so here we are. We're talking about a time period that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. There are homeless individuals on the street in America right now. There are children starving and having, can't even get water, right? Happening right now. Not just in America, but around the world. It's happening. So, compare it to the Middle Ages. Oh, okay. So it's when we're talking about pain and suffering, especially like with children or anyone like vulnerable, right? I mean, when you become an adult, you're able to stomach it better. But if you went through trauma as a child or had issues, you know, it just, I'm so sick of the excuses or comparing, you know, this and that. No, we're not living in the Middle Ages right now. We're not. We're living in the here and now. And there is a sick psychopathic system that is at the freaking controls. That's a fact. Doesn't matter whether the Viking Age or the Crusades. It doesn't matter. The suffering is happening in the here and now today. And it's been happening for as far back as there are, you know, history records, historic records. And then it doesn't matter what you believe about history. The point is pain and suffering is a it's a very consistent, common theme that pops up time and time again, along with human and animal sacrifice. Explain that one away. You can't. You just can't.
All right, yeah, all right. And we may easily have been one of those. So this is all karma that has accumulated. So the hunter says, I will go through this. It's only 800,000 hours. I will go through this. I will endure it. I will experience what I have given to others as a handicapped person, as a raped person, whatever it is. Because a raped child is not a young soul. It's an ancient soul and may have gone through a lot of past life as well. So as horrible as these acts are, and they do have consequences to the person who does give the harm, like the rapist and so on, that's a karmic consequence. But for the person to incarnate and experience the horror of war, the horror of rape, of torture, of genocide, is something that the soul knew about prior incarnation. It's difficult for us to comprehend that, but we do have. Well, in my videos, I show it something like a screen where we see our future life like a riverbed. And there are certain rapids, there are certain kind of problems on the riverbed, there are maybe some rocks and difficulties, and we see that. And these are life situations which we may most likely encounter, not 100%, because...
Yeah, that's just pre-birth memories. It's pre-birth memories. It goes to the heart of the scam.
pre-birth planning goes to the heart of the scam. And there is always outside interference with the individual who's about to come here, where they're being presented their life script. And they can pick and choose and edit and all that stuff. Or in some cases, be bullied into kind of coming down here and just accepting whatever's there. And then this is why the whole karma thing is so important and comes into play, because the belief in karma that you need to, you're just not ready yet. You're going to have to go back down to earth, and hopefully this next lifetime, you'll get it figured out. But that's not how it works. It just keeps going and going and going and going. It's one big fat hoax.
Because we have always the free will to change it. But these are difficult, our difficult in-laws, the problem with the illness of our child, etc. Very difficult is something, whatever happens in our life. We look at this and we wholeheartedly agree to it. Nobody is here against their will. Says, yes, I will do this, I will experience it, and then I will be done with it. It's basically like paying off a debt. For instance, you own $500,000 to somebody, and it burdens you because you struggle to pay it off. You just don't make enough money, and somebody says, well, would you be ready, maybe work for me for 1 week, very hard, 24 hours, and all your debts are gone? Says, yes, I will do that. And the very short period here makes it so attractive, because in the spiritual realm, we don't have the physical body, and everything takes much, much longer. The concept of time is different than we have here.
And that, again, goes to the heart of the deception. If you so let's just say, like, you just roll up to the gates, the border, let's say, of the Matrix, and, you're ushered on in, and you agree, okay, I'm going to come in, I'm going to do the animal experience, the human experience, whatever the case may be, and go along for the ride. Well, you forget yourself. And it just keeps happening and happening and happening over and over and over again until you truly discover yourself. There's nothing fair or just about that. It's just monotonous BS. And so you can see how time itself plays a factor, right? If you're outside of the body, remember, if you're outside of the body, you feel like you're at home, you're in this loving situation, or you're hanging out with your soul group, whatever the case may be. That's comfort, right? You're not thinking about your life on earth. And the other issue is that your memories are wiped. They're removed. So if you don't have a reference point to go back to while you're in the astral with your soul group and teachers and guides and ascended masters and God and Jesus and Buddha, Muhammad, and, whoever the hell else, right? If you have all of that going, but don't have a reference point for what it's like to be human and experience pain, suffering, duality, love, happiness, all that stuff. Well, you can see how it would be pretty easy to convince us to go back again. If you don't have a recollection of it, or maybe you have like some like subconscious blockage that is aware that something is not quite right, but you can't put your finger on it because you've been zapped. Your memory's been zapped. Or maybe you're just new to the system. Who knows? The point is there's too much to just chalk it up as, the time's different, you'll be excited to go back down to earth. Well, it's pretty easy to achieve when you're being memory wiped.
So not only do we experience it in the same karma in a much longer time, but we also don't have the physical body. And the physical body is very helpful because it's like a buffer. We can do something. If pain comes to us in some way, we can take medicine. We can heal it. We do not have that buffer in the spiritual world, so we will immediately feel the karma that is coming back to us. So it is a gift. That's why coming to Earth is a gift for everybody. It's a blessing. And it is such an incredible gift that we can see it right now that we have got this enormous increase on population here on this Earth. I mean, it just skyrocketed over the last 100 years from 2 billion to what is now 8 billion. It's incredible. Mm-hmm. And the reason is quite simple. A lot of souls in the purification spheres, and there are billion more up there, have decided the Earth is going to a very difficult time now. This is my opportunity to clear up all the mess that I have done in a very short time. And they line up to any possible possibility to incarnate here, to any baby which gets born. There are more souls want to incarnate than we have babies here because of abortion, of birth prevention. Mm-hmm. And therefore, a lot of these souls who want to come here have to decide to incarnate in third world countries, which is not normally their vibration. They're usually higher evolved.
Oh, okay. So now, okay, because Earth is overpopulated, which it's not, all you got to do is just take a car and drive. I don't care where the hell you live. If you live in a city, drive outside the city. And you will drive past miles and miles and miles and miles. Endless land everywhere. The Earth is not overpopulated. That is one of the most, it's one of the things the system wants you to believe for various reasons that we can't even talk about. But, so basically there's an overflow. And so they all just have to be, going forward because there's so many reincarnating at this moment that they have to be, shoved into third world countries. I'm not buying it. I don't give a shit. I live in the U.S. I've driven all over this country. And there is endless amounts of land. Endless. So that excuse does not fly with me. And I don't know, I could say some other things, but I don't want to get the boot.
But just to be in this coming, let's say, 50, 100 years here on Earth, which the Earth will go through a lot of difficult times, that is the reason why they come. And that is the reason for our high population. The souls are so desperate to come here. Now, I know a lot of your viewers may be so upset with their life and says, oh, I hate it here, I want to get out. And so on, I'd rather commit suicide and stay a day longer. But let us be aware, it is such a gift to be here on Earth. It is such a blessing. And billions of souls are trying hard to come into this Earth school. This is Yale. This is Harvard. This is one of the best schools we can have. It's very tough, like any kind of Ivy League school is a tough school.
Okay, so what does this narrative do? This is a common talking point that's out there. Oh, well, this is the Harvard. This is the Princeton. This is the upper echelon of experiences that you can have. You should be appreciative of it. Really? You're telling me a realm that I come into, memory wiped, not knowing where I came from, why I'm here, where I'm going, what my purpose is? You're telling me that this is, an honor? No, it's just a gift. Really, are you shitting me? Let's get real. See, it's just this. All it takes is common sense. You look outside your door. Look at videos online of those who suffer even worse, and apply compassion and empathy across, the realm, right? Or even in your local area when you see a homeless individual or someone struggling who needs help, and ask yourself, is this fair? Is this right? And then remember to say to yourself, I don't have any memory. I don't know my past existence. And yes, some of you may go and have past life regressions and all sorts of different interesting experiences and go outside the body. We can all have these experiences. But if you're being honest with yourself, you'll say, okay, well, yeah, I got some information out of it, but it's a drop in the bucket compared to who you really are as an eternal being. If you're only getting matrix information inside the matrix, then you're doing a disservice to yourself. And that's not to blame you. It's just that that's the information that's available to you because of how this whole system works. If you're being memory wiped lifetime after lifetime, not knowing where you came from, why you are here, where you're going, it's very, very easy to continue the scam and make up all sorts of ridiculous excuses for this realm that we all find ourselves in.
Anybody. But once we agree to it, let's stick with it. Let's go through it. We are not alone here. We have our guardian spirit who is helping us every minute. We have got Christ in us. If you believe in Christ, or the Christ force is there anyway, even if you don't believe in it. And then you have got God, and you have got the whole divine world assisting us, helping us, being and encouraging us to go through this successfully and make this life a successful life. We are not alone here. That's very important. We are never, ever alone, even if it appears that way.
And I've had the ability to talk to a lot of people who've had near-death experiences. And the one concept that I hear in those near-death experiences, which is appropriate to talk about in this as what we were talking about, is the life review. Is to be able to see their lives and not only see it, but feel what they felt and what the other person felt, which is really a really interesting idea.
Really
that you feel all the pain and suffering you caused others throughout life, something as simple as cutting someone off to something much more extreme, and that we feel that. And from my understanding, from my studies, is that you are right. No one's here against their will. If you have karma, you could choose to reincarnate and deal with it, but you cannot move forward until you deal with it. So, and on the other side, you're like, no, I really want to go down there and take care of this. Because on the other side, it's not looked upon. It's looked upon as a workout, as a school lesson, as opposed to what we see it as, like this heavy burden of, oh my God, I got to carry all this weight. Where they're like, no, give me the more weight. The more weight I can get through this faster. I can evolve faster. But that is the point of this whole thing, is to evolve that vibration higher and higher. So can you explain what ascended masters are? What walking masters on the, because there are walking masters on the earth today.
No, they're not. They're not. They don't exist. It's the world is so screwed up, and I got to give Hans some credit here, because I'm in agreement with him. You'll hear, even though it's a rare moment, but I'm with him. There's no a big masters here who are walking through the desert and sharing this amazing knowledge and connected and realize that they are a sovereign being. There's very few of us who see through the BS. Very few.
What are they doing differently than the rest of us are? And how do we get there?
They're indoctrinating the rest of the public, or whoever the Matrix marketing department wants stationed in a certain region, so that the narrative in that area for a select group or a large group of individuals is achieved.
so that the illusion of the BS continues to be believed.
I'm hesitant on this one because I have not really met a walking master. I have met people of high evolved vibrations and who are actually living the law of love and expressing it. Anybody who calls himself master I'm a bit careful with this one, hesitant, because absolutely. I think I would not do this. We are on such a low level here on earth to anybody to be a master. I don't know. I think.
See, I mean, I agree. That is a dead on statement. So true. 100%. He's basically saying, like, if you're in the human form, you're not going to ever reach any sort of quote unquote master status because it's just not possible. You may be intuitive, you may be able to look at things in a certain way and get it and see through the veil. But in reality, even when you're piercing through the veil, all you're doing is piercing through the veil. You're not opening the answers to the multiverse.
I think I will avoid this answer. I personally do not believe necessarily there are many masters here. There are people who express the law of love and teach it well and be an example like Christ is definitely a master. But I don't have enough experience myself to say about that. And what happens on the other higher levels, what we have on the other side is there are the teaching angels. These teaching angels are coming from the highest absolute reality and come down in this purification spheres, in the spiritual purification spheres, and teach souls to move on. They themselves have not necessarily incarnated onto planet Earth, but they're teaching spirits and they are really helping the soul to move on. And I think what you mentioned earlier about the life review, there's one important aspect I think we tend to forget. It says, why do we do this? It's not just to undo our karma, because for that it's too short. But what it does, it imprints something in our soul. Like, for instance, if I have hurt somebody because I said something wrong or whatever, it is hurtful. I feel now back in me very strongly. It is partly to feel remorse about it, but also to store it in my soul. So that's why that develops our conscience. So when we incarnate again the next time, our conscience will remind us, don't say this again. You have done it before and it just didn't work out well. So don't do this act again. So this is where our conscience basically comes from the life review, where we have seen the negativity in past lives. And this is stored in ourselves as part of our conscience. Of course, the conscience is bigger than that, also learns through our lifetime. But this is one of the important points of how we suddenly remember, or how our inner voice says, oh, don't do this, don't go this way. There is this inner voice in us. It's our conscience. And we have done a similar mistake most likely in the past, and it didn't work out well.
So it's kind of like a spiritual DNA almost.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah,
kind of like it's stuck with you. It's part of you.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. You mentioned the Beatles and Maharishi. Did you meet Maharishi?
No, I didn't go so far. No, I just took the classes, and I did, and it really helped me a lot. I must say, it was amazing. I suddenly learned to really keep my monkey brain a bit calmer and calm down, and the self-confidence I got out of this was just amazing. But as I said, I'm no longer doing it. I have my own meditations. Anybody who wants to see them, and also a video on how to meditate, I have that on my channel. And I also have guided meditations, which are slightly different. But it was a very powerful and a necessary step on my evolution here.
Right. And it's not about what kind of meditation, is that you meditate. Whatever one works with you the best is the concept. You don't need to go to TM, or you don't have to go, whatever happens to work for you. The concept, right. The thing is that you should be meditating. And I think I want to just kind of dig into what you just said there for a second, because it's an important point, is that you said that after you started to meditate, you got amazing self-confidence. Would you agree that you got that self-confidence because you started to connect more with your higher self, and you started to remember more who you are, then the fear started to go away a little bit more, and you started to become a little bit more aware of who you truly are when you start to quiet down all that noise? you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm a soul. Oh, that's kind of where I've gone, because ever since I've meditated, I've become much more calm, confident. Things that used to bother me don't bother me as much anymore. Things like that. I mean, before someone cut me off, I was the guy chasing you down with the middle fingers and honking the horn. I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? When I was a young man. But that doesn't bother me. Now I'm like, what is wrong? What's happening with that poor soul that he had to feel that he had to do that? I feel bad for him. I have empathy for that. So that's how I generally work it. I'm not 100%, let's just call it, but I'm much better than where I was.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I must be honest, with the transcendental meditation, I think I just learned to calm my mind, which was quite sufficient. I don't think I went to a much soul business at that time. It was just really an incredible technique that I was suddenly in control. I don't have to think every thought. I can have the TM any minute. And that gave me a lot of confidence. It wasn't so much at that time to explore my soul. That came much later, that I did meditations, and I also created the inner dialogue with divinity. That all happened much, much later, but that wasn't my first step.
Now, with a lot of the concepts we're talking about, I'd love to know where the source of a lot of this information comes from. Where have you been studying the deepest, and what has resonated with you to bring this kind of work out into the world? Like, there's so many, a lot of these concepts are in hundreds, if not thousands, of different teachings around history. What is it? Where did you find these teachings, and how are they coming out of you?
Well, as I said, I've done many popular paths in the past. A lot of that I use as well. And I had the great honor and pleasure in meeting a lot of people on the spiritual teaching path. But for the last 40 years and so on, most of the information that I share in my video comes from Germany, from a woman called Gabriele, called herself a mystery of light. But you won't find her on the internet. She does not want
Mystery of light. I'm gonna rewind that. I think it's
that I share in my video comes from Germany, from a woman called Gabriele, called herself a mystery of light. But you won't find her on the internet. She does not want any promotion, any self-promotion, whatever it is. She says it's only between you and God. There's no one else. There's no organization. There's nothing. But there are all these revelations. These are the books, and you see them in the back here, the blue books. These are over time. It's a huge. The Sophia Library has got all her revelations there, and she channels from the absolute reality. And the material that I read there for the first time were just mind-boggling for me. I couldn't believe the depth, the clarity. See, when you remember Edgar Cayce, it's not easy to read. It's very difficult.
He's not an easy read, my friend. No, he's not.
Yeah, or Rudolf Steiner and so on. They're all wifey, but you read them and you have to read the sentence 3 times. Now suddenly it comes in a language very clear, no misinterpretation possible. And also on a depth which I've never understood. And I try to put this, to understand it myself. Because I'm a writer and illustrator, I did make these illustrations in my videos because it helps me. I do these videos for myself, Alex. I mean, it sounds crazy, but when I do something physically like this, draw things out and see how the dots connect so perfectly, that just has a major impact onto me. And I share this gladly with others. If it works for others, it's great. I have zero interest to convince anybody about whatever I share in my videos to believe it or have to believe it. It is my own discovery, and I do it for myself, and I gladly share that.
like, see, that's exactly what walking the path is all about. Doing your own thing, not caring what anyone else thinks. And, if you spread the message, then great. And if a few pick it up along the way, that's even better. But I think it's all natural. It's a natural path. But the question is what belief systems are you going to take and push on others just on a hope and a prayer? Doesn't make sense.
So what I found out on this path, on this Christian mystical path, is that absolutely every answer I could ever think of, I have an answer, I can find the answer for. And everything is very clear and everything is very direct, and there are no secrets. God has no secrets from his children. There is no mystery here. And because of this absolute clarity, and we don't have to learn any exercises or join any groups or any clubs or an organization which has teachers and priests and so on. No, it's only a path between you and God, or you and Christ directly. It's a mystical path, the path within. So I liked the fact that I was not going to depend myself on another system and another formation, another group or whatever. It is just something between you and God only, if it works for you. So this was the most powerful thing. Then, of course, over the years, I have also slowly, with a lot of mistakes, learned to apply the teachings and various tests. And the changes which I have seen in my life have been quite phenomenal. There's a long way to go, but the little I've done, I just really seen this stuff works. This stuff is true. And I mean, it's simple stuff which we also know from, like the law of projection, that everything outside is a projection of ourselves. There are simple things like this, the law of attraction, etc. But how to navigate through this and how to do that's something where I found so much help. And that is what I express in my videos. And if anybody's watching, and I mean, those who are watching are very simple. For instance, I like to draw out these things for myself. Like, for instance, here is the law of karma. You see somebody does something bad there, and where is this now stored? In the Akashic records, and then in the repository planets, and how it comes back. When you see this in these very simple forms, it makes, to me, more sense than if I read it intellectually with my mind. So that's basically what I do. I sort of express what I've read. It's like when you get a stuff from IKEA, when they say you have to add part 1 to part B, it doesn't make sense to me. But when I see how part 1 fits into part B, then it's very clear to me. And that's exactly what it is. I do the IKEA way.
The IKEA way of spirituality, which is painful, by the way. If anyone's ever built anything from IKEA, understand it's not easy and it's painful, but you can do it. Now, let me ask you, because especially in the West, we have such a need, and we're bombarded with messages about finding happiness outside of us through materialism, through consumption, through these latest whatever gadgets, and they all have their place. You know, many of them have their place of tools, but this necessity that people don't figure out till too late, or maybe not even at all, is that they can spend money and spend money and spend money and have fame. And as you know, I come from Hollywood, and I've worked with a lot of big movie stars and things like that. And I've seen firsthand, when you have fame, when you have money, when you have all of this stuff, it still does not even begin to fill the bucket that you're looking to fill. And only after you start to go inward is when you actually start to fill that bucket little by little. But can you give any tips to people listening on how to kind of transcend that egoic mind of needing things outside of themselves to feel happiness, to feel fulfilled, and to start looking inward?
Well, you already sketched it out very nicely. I do have a video, I think it's called Fame, Power, and Wealth, where I explained in great detail that these people very often, who are striving for these things, thinking that's where the happiness is, have got this inner hole, this vacuum in them, which the message is what they usually always have is, I am not enough, I am not enough, I am not enough. Mm-hmm. And that is where the negative forces, and there are negative entities around this world, which we can't see, but they can really manipulate us and can help us. Oh, I can give you this, etc. Really Freudian bargain. There's no question about it. And they can give you this. And you can have wealth, and you can have fame, and you can have power. But every time you reach a level, it's not enough, not enough. I mean, the richest person must do more. It becomes more greedy. And the reason is because they are totally spiritually exhausted. They have no more energy left in themselves. So they think the energy from the outside, which is money, which is power, which is wealth and fame, will fill them up and will give them the energy they need to live. But every time they have it, it's still not enough, still not enough. And it is usually so until...
It's the energy they need to live. Translation, loosh. That's the translation we just heard. So I'll rewind just a little bit here.
And they can give you this, and you can have wealth, and you can have fame, and you can have power. But every time you reach a level, it's not enough, not enough. I mean, the richest person must need more, 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 more. It becomes more greedy. And the reason is because they are totally spiritually exhausted. They have no more energy left in themselves. So they think the energy from the outside, which is money, which is power, which is wealth and fame, will fill them up and will give them the energy they need to live. But every time they have it, it's still not enough, still not enough. And it is usually so until they finally, eventually learn that the outside world simply cannot give you the stuff which you are really leading. You have to really get back to the source, and the only source there is within you.
Okay, so the only source is within you, but there's still a clear narrative throughout the entire interview that there's God is love. Like it's the love narrative. So which, what does it do? It funnels you right back into the light. Funnels you right back into the whole system that it wants us to go to. I mean, it's become so clear. And even though, I mean, I think there are many musicians, many actors, actresses, politicians, all these things where deals are made, and obviously they come with the life script before they even get here, but at the same time they're making a trade-off also when they get here. And yeah, they may have all the money in the world, all the luxuries, the private planes, and the 7-8 houses, and making millions or billions of dollars, who knows? But they're completely corrupted, as was pointed out in the video. But in my opinion, I look at these individuals, and the funny thing was, is I was talking with a good friend of the channel, Cam, the other day, a call, and he was talking about, like, what do you think about, these super musicians? We were specifically talking about music, but he's like, what do you think about whoever, right? Who, these individuals who are able to just rock it out on like a scale that's above and beyond the average player. And he even kind of added on top of it by saying, oh, well, it's like I look at them and it makes me not want to even play. So it's kind of like a defeatist thing as well. So like you have like the bar is set so high that it can't be matched. And like an interesting one to consider is someone like Prince, right? I mean, well trained and aware in many different instruments, a songwriter. I mean, covers all the bases, and he's just one example, right? You have bands like the Eagles, incredible music, incredible lyrics. Not even going to talk about the Beatles because that's a massive discussion in and of itself. That would take way too long. But just think about the high caliber actors, actresses, musicians that are out there. There's a reason they're there. And I think they're just for public consumption, whether they know it or not, whether they're lucidly aware or not, who knows? But it keeps the mind control system running smoothly.
and this divinity, and then you can turn and get the energy from divinity. You can, of course, rely on the energy which is borrowed to you or lent to you by the negative forces, but eventually you will have to give them back. Like in a Faustian bargain, eventually you have to serve them. But most people believe that the happiness, as I said, is in the outside. I also like to say the happiness is always a little bit short-lived for me. The happiness it's just a quick joy, quick kick. I like to go with deep joy, deep ecstasy.
Right.
That is our true essence. Our essence is deep, deep joy. And the deep, deep joy does not really need happiness. Happiness is, for me, a bit short-lived. But it's semantics here. I understand if somebody does see it differently. And we all like to be happy and so on. But the happiness comes from freedom. When I am free, then I am happy. It's quite amazing what freedom can do to us. And also what helps most, as it's not the thing from the outside, the other thing to get into this more positive, maybe happy feeling. A very simple step is gratefulness. Just be grateful for whatever you have, for the computer in front of you, for your nose on your face, or whatever you can think of, because there are billions of people who don't have that. And whatever we have, be grateful for that. And the moment we focus on grateful, we cannot worry, we cannot complain, because we are totally feeling the abundance somehow. And the more we increase and in our mind, the items we are grateful for, the more abundance we will feel. And out of abundance is another feeling of joy. And for some people, maybe happiness to come from that. So we have got very simple tools to come from a negative frame of mind into a more positive ones. But as you said earlier, the main reason why so many people strive so hard, like Hollywood, for wealth, money, and so on, comes from the inner feeling that I'm lacking something, I'm not good enough, and I'm not enough.
Oh yes, like I said, I've worked with many actors and actresses. Oh, my friend, I've met many of them, worked with many of them as well. They just don't understand. They just feel that there is that I'm not enough vibe. I've spoken to Oscar winners, and I go, so you won an Oscar, then what? And they're like, I was lost. Yeah. Because you put this in your mind that this is the ultimate prize, that once I have this, I will be happy. And you're happy for a
You'll own nothing and be happy.
day, maybe a week, maybe a month. But at a certain point, it doesn't do anything, because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay, so we still have some time to go in the stream, but I got to take a break. We've been going, I think, close to 2 hours at this point. So we'll see you back here in about 5-6 minutes. Take care of yourselves and see you shortly. I appreciate each of you and hope you're finding some value in today's stream. So much. Okay, my friends, coming back. Thank you for your patience. Just as a reminder, this channel is for educational purposes only, or perhaps in the eyes of the law, entertainment purposes only. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. Before we get to the end of tonight's stream and get through the commentary, just want to remind you that there is a YouTube backup channel. I also just recently applied the third channel to a Truth in Gaming channel, so feel free to subscribe and hit the bell for those. The Forever Conscious Research 2 and 3 have been sitting there for a couple of years, I think now. And I decided to make the third one a gaming channel, Truth in Gaming channel, or expose Matrix truths. It's very casual with light commentary. And I got some really interesting games in the pipe. There's 3 live streams up there already. So feel free to check those out if you'd like. I also have an Odyssey and a Rumble account, so you can check out the channel on those platforms as well. And so hello to those watching tonight on Odyssey and Rumble, and of course YouTube. I have a Twitter, Instagram if you want to follow the channel there, and an email list if you're interested. And that's one of the few things I control, so if you don't mind clicking the email list and subscribing, that would be great. And I do not sell your data, your information at all. Never will. So to date, I've had the email list out there for, I don't even know at this point, probably like 7, 8, 9 months, maybe even longer. I don't even know. And I haven't sent one email out. So you're not going to receive a ton of spam, but it's there as a way for us to stay in touch, just something should ever happen on YouTube. I also want to let you know that the channel isn't created yet, but I'm also going to do a different type of stream or different type of show, and I'll have various co-hosts on. Where it'll be kind of, right now I'm debating on the name of it, but it'll be probably something like Laughing at the Matrix, Laughing at the Clown World, and we'll just kind of pick some clips and have some laughs, you know, with some light commentary. And it's just kind of a good way to ease everything, right? And so if you're interested in that, keep an eye on the channel in the future. I'll make some announcements when that occurs, but that's kind of in the early phases. But the Truth in Gaming channel is up and running if you're interested. So just check the description tab, and there also are memberships available on Odyssey and Rumble if you want some extra content each month. Your support is always appreciated, but never expected. So thank you so much. There we go. Get back into it.
Whereas the love of your child or your partner.
Okay, before we continue, I just want to give a big thank you to Spirit for the very kind super chat, and also Knack for the very kind super chat. I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
Or the energy that you get from being of service to somebody. Mm-hmm. That is so much more fulfilling and powerful than winning an Oscar. And I've again, because I've had that ability to speak to a lot of these, sometimes on air, sometimes off air, which the off air conversations are much more interesting, but they're not for public view. But you start to hear the stories of lack, and you'd be surprised.
Imagined lack.
Imagined lack in their life because they are not looking at the right. They're not focusing on the right place. It's pretty fascinating when you know, let's say you go out at a certain point, all the money in the world. Let's say tomorrow, you and I both have $10 million in the bank. Okay. US dollars. We're pretty much done. If you're smart with your money, we have no more worries about anything else in life. We have a house. We have our food covered. We can help our children. We can help even friends. We're covered. But yet there's people who go 10 million, I need 100 million. After 100 million, I need a billion. After a billion, I need 100 billion. And it's a sickness almost, because at a certain point, how much bigger of a box do you need to live in? How much fancier do you need your horse and buggy to drive you around in? Like at a certain point, you just have to go, do I need a $500,000 car, or will a Toyota do? Look, it's all perspective. It really is all perspective. People are like, well, what if you were gifted a Ferrari? Because my last name happens to be Ferrari. They're like, I would sell it and buy a Toyota. Toyota's not sponsored, by the way. They're not a sponsor of the show. Or buy a Honda or whatever. Just buy something that makes, for me, I just need a car to take me from A to B. That's safe. It's comfortable. Done. That's it. So it's fascinating to people that get so caught up in all of these, don't even get me started on clothes. Can you imagine? My family walked into like this big designer store at an outlet mall the other day, and my kids walked in and they saw a little purse, $850, like a little hand purse. They go, what is wrong with these people? My daughters were like, that's just a purse. I go, that's called branding.
You're a man, you don't understand it. My wife would have some reasons to explain that to you.
Some deep spiritual reasons, like I need the Gucci. See, Gucci was brought in by Jesus, and Jesus was the one who created Jesus.
Well, this is the thing, that in our society we fall so easily for all these influencers, which now is a totally new thing, but commercials and so on, the cars for advertising and so on. In our capitalist society, that is something we fall for and have fallen for all the time. And partly it has helped our economy to grow, but the growth of our economy also meant the destruction of the planet. So it's a very, very sad.
All right, so here come the narratives. Buckle up. It's helped our economy. I mean, it's helped. It's helped me pay my medical bills, or some of my medical bills. I'll say that, and be able to buy equipment. So, but there's, the whole ruining the planet thing. You know where we're headed with this one, and I'll leave it at that. Use your imagination.
A strange kind of situation here. We have never learned to be modest in our demands and our requires. It's just not part of our way of thinking.
Okay, so we've never been modest in our demands, but the key thing in the trailer video of this channel, what's the point of the Earth realm? What's the point of all this? Remember, they provided the dumpster fire to us. Never forget that. So the options within the dumpster fire are what are available. And sometimes you can afford it, sometimes you can't. And the issue is this blame game that goes around. Well, what about the parasitic control structure that's at the top that passes all this stuff down to humanity? If there was really an issue, trust me, they would make sure to resolve it. But that's not what's going on, is it? It's all these fake gestures, year in and year out. And I'm telling you, this stuff has been going on since I was a kid. This has been going on for decades. And they try to program you young and get you to believe that, oh, well, you're the one at fault. Kind of like the whole thing, like, oh, well, we're going to run out of food. So you got to eat bugs or you'll own nothing and be happy. These are the types of narratives that are out there right now. It's a joke. And it's coming from the top down, or at least the perceived top down. Joke. Total joke.
And that's where we eventually will learn from. And we learn already because there's climate change. There is no more water in California or whatever. It's serious. It is serious because we are overconsumption. And the overconsumption is the gentle way of letting go. We will learn the hard way of sort of facing our own nonsense that we have created. But it is our society which promotes the idea, I am not enough. And we have to watch this very carefully. I think anybody who's watching this video maybe asks themselves, do I have it somewhere in me as well that I'm not enough? And the only thing can help you is to fill that soul, that hole is divinity, is God. And when we can link with that energy, then we are everything.
And that's so important that people listening should ask that question. Do you have that question inside of you? Am I not enough? But you were born enough.
Yeah.
You were born perfect. It's all the crap that was thrown onto you from the moment you came into this world, from your parents, from your friends, from your colleagues, from your community, from your religion, through television, whatever that, all that programming.
Exactly. And that's the point of everything, right? That's exactly what we're talking about here today. How the intergenerational trauma and indoctrination is passed down, and the system is passing it down to us and our parents and our parents' parents, and it just keeps being passed down over and over and over again. All these belief systems. And, well, hey, good luck when you get here. But we didn't create these things. I have nothing to do with the creation of making people suffer and homelessness and starvation and torture programs and all that stuff. I mean, there's so many different things that can be talked about. But yet it's always passed down to us through the fear, guilt, shame matrix system.
That they get through in is that I forgot who said this, but it's very true. You spend the first 7 years of your life being programmed, and you spend the rest of your life trying to deprogram that programming and to try to get back closer to source, because you come in as close to you as you can to source. Yeah. And then you start to like, am I not enough? I'm not getting the love, or this is that. And then you start creating stories in your head. And then as you start to release those stories, as you start to believe those stories, then becomes dogma in your mind. And I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. Whereas if you deprogram yourself to understand the truth, then life becomes, like you said, you're more free in life.
It's all the programs which we have adopted from our environment. We have to question each one and just let go of it if it doesn't suit us anymore. And that is, I think, our task. That's freedom. I come always back. The main purpose is for us to become free again, which includes questioning all the value systems, the programs, the religions we grew up in it. And I'm not saying they're all bad. It's just only find out whether they still are right for you at this moment.
Now, there's something you've...
Yeah, but yet the indoctrination system, the belief that, everything's about love and, the creator source, God is love and that's everything. Sorry, it just doesn't fit. Doesn't fit. I don't care. I mean, all you got to do is look at NDEs too and see that there is a level of deception going on. There are memory wipes going on. So you got to ask yourself, why, when they come back, are they only allowed to discuss certain things? Certain memories are blocked off while others are continually perpetuated. And it's that the patterns are glaring and expose this thing for what it is.
Spoken about before, and I really think it's an important topic to kind of tackle here, is grieving and holding on too tightly to souls that have left or transitioned, and how you properly grieve, let go, and move on from a death in the family or a any kind of thing, and the dangers of not letting go and holding on and holding on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have got this idea that this is the only life we have here on Earth. And therefore, if somebody dies, then of course he is no longer part of life. He is no longer existing, or if he's existing, we don't know what happened to him. So how could he be happier than we are here? The truth is that none of us are really happy either, but that's another point. So we have great problems understanding that the other person who has died is having a life on his or her own at the moment, which means a progression of his education, of his development, evolution. So this stops us and thinks they should be with us, they should be here, they would be better off if they're with me. Truth is, if they're better longer, staying long, they could burden themselves more here on Earth as well. That's not necessarily. It's better for somebody to stay very long. Long life does not necessarily mean we have made a successful life, because we could have created more karma in a long life. So everybody dies exactly on time, as Byron Katie always says. There are no mistakes. Although I must say, we do have still the free will. We can kill ourselves earlier, and there are some kind of procedures, medical procedures, which can extend our life unnecessary as well. But everybody basically dies right on time when the time is up. Now, a soul that leaves is a soul, eternal spirit, so it goes back to the spiritual realm where it continues its progress of returning back home. But if we, through our excessive mourning, hold on to that soul, oh, he shouldn't have left, how can you leave me alone, etc., then that soul feels everything that we feel if it was a close soul, like a family member or a loved one, a spouse. They feel that very strongly in them. They are extremely burdened by the mourning, grieving that we are having, the excessive mourning and grieving. I'm come to the point that there's a certain amount is necessary, but the excessive is something which holds the soul back. Now, grieving and mourning, if somebody suddenly dies, is a natural occurrence because it's like somebody chops up my arm. I have to firstly adjust to this. It's a time of adjustment. So I will be pretty pissed.
Yes.
And this is really bad. So yes. But after a while, it says, okay, there's no other way. I have to live without my arm. That's just part of the life. So grieving and mourning are not bad in itself. They are a healing period and they are necessary. But the excessiveness becomes then selfishness. Because we are only crying about ourselves. We do not ever cry about the other soul because none of us knows what happens to them. Most likely they are doing much better off, particularly when they were sick. They no longer have the sickness now. So they are...
Exactly. We don't know. We don't know. So why, oh, why do you put just blind trust and faith in something that's exterior to yourself when it's responsible for what the hell's happening here in the now?
Better off, but we are crying and feeling sorry for ourselves. It's a totally self-indulgent process if it goes on too long. And this is where the danger is, and that's why I make this video on mourning and grieving, that we are holding back the souls on the other side, and they cannot progress, and they feel so sorry. Now, I also am taught on my spiritual path, advice, not to try to communicate with the soul that has departed. Now, I know a lot of other people who believe otherwise, and that's fine. But the reason is because some of these souls are not maybe necessarily strong or not focused, and they can start attaching themselves to us. And for this reason, the only way, I would like to suggest is to go to Christ or to God and let him or her speak on our behalf to that soul. Let the God or Christ come between you and the soul which have departed, so that there is no more direct contact possible. Ask Christ to convey your love to that person, whatever you wish to say, still have to do, and let that pass it on. To trust that energy to do that on your behalf. That will protect you and also make sure that the message which you have for that soul will be passed on to that soul. So these are the little things I like to imagine. And there's another reason why we have very often, why people have excessive mourning, is because they think they have not verbalized I love you to the person who has died. This is what Dr. Kübler-Ross told me. And that's why I made my book, I Will Always Love You, which is a bestseller. But it is basically their message.
Just in case you didn't know. Now, listen, excuse me, sorry, I don't mean to cough in your face. My thought on this is there's a few things. Well, one main thing. I think that he's accurate when he says that we shouldn't direct our energy too heavily towards our loved ones. Look, we all have the makeup that comes with the human experience while we're here, right? That's unavoidable. It's here. But once you kind of roll into the soul trap knowledge, it makes even more sense. And why does it make more sense? Because what are you doing? You're basically transmitting a signal to someone that you love and care about to that could possibly pull them back in, right? But with that being said, does the individual that you're emitting that, let's just say, frequency to, that intention to, the mourning part of things. If you're putting that out there and they're not aware of the layers of the deception, it doesn't matter. I hate to say it doesn't matter. But when I'm listening to someone like Hans, right? What could be the opposite side of the matrix reasoning for, hey, don't mourn and grieve your loved ones? What's the logical answer there? I think there's only one. and that answer is to, yes, not pull your loved ones back, not keep them attached to the recent lifetime that they just came from, but instead to move forward so that they can get into the next one. Seriously. Sit on that for a minute. So it's like what he says is true. But it's true for both ends of the spectrum. The way we look at things and the way the mass, a vast majority of the public look at things. It's crazy to think about, but had to point that out. These are the final 10, 15 minutes where I'm stepping in to cover the rest of the video that we lost, unfortunately, back in June. So, all right, let's continue.
If people feel they haven't said it, they are the married couple who never say I love you, but suddenly he dies and they hated each other, they were fighting, and suddenly he becomes a saint because the widow says, oh, he was such a wonderful person. True, she never said I love you. But you can still say that in your mind, but the person is dead. You can say it via Christ and say, look, I want him to know I love him, and so on.
Christ.
And of course, it's also very difficult, and I get many, many correspondence in the last few years, increasingly from parents whose children have committed suicide. So that is a very, very tough subject, and I can understand that because they are not prepared for it. Right. And when an elderly person dies, we says, all right, one day they will go, but a young person totally committed suicide. There's so much guilt in it as well, etc. There are so many emotions involved in this one. So we do have this very difficult situation, and I fully understand that grieving or trying to find a way to deal with the situation is very, very, but we do have our comforter in us. None of us is alone. This is Scripture saying we do not have to walk this path alone. We have Christ in us, or God. We can communicate. If we cannot have that, if we do not have that relationship, maybe it's time to consider to develop that relationship to divinity, because sooner or later, everybody will have to. So far, our ego may have says, oh, I don't need this God stuff or Christ stuff. Just leave it for my aunt. She believes in all that stuff. I don't do that. Fine. But eventually, you will have to become and return back to love. And I always believe the parable Christ always told is the prodigal son, where the son leaves the wealthy father, give me my inheritance. I go into the world. He goes into the world, squanders it all, creates karma, until he sleeps with the swines, and so to survive. And then he remembers that the servants in his father's home live better than he lives now. And he says, I will go home and just ask if to be a servant in my father's home again. And of course, when he returns, father is happy and embraces him, has a big feast. That is the story of our life. Eventually, we have to accept the energy of the father. I'm not saying the human father, of somebody who is greater than ourselves. And that energy,
the human father. I mean, do you think anyone would be confused about that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
To accept the energy of the father. I'm not saying the human father.
Accept the energy of the father, not your human father. You just accept the energy. Accept the love. Don't ask any questions. Do as you're told. Don't think for yourself. Don't take any sovereign direction whatsoever. And trust me, everything will be A-okay.
Of somebody who is greater than ourselves. And that energy is with us all the time, wanting us to return home. That energy.
Yeah, it wants us to return, quote unquote, home. In the matrix. In the matrix system. It's a quote false home, I guess you can say, right? Whatever home is. We don't even know what home is. Home could just be our essence, our very essence just existing. Does it need a location? Does it need to reunite or connect with something? I don't know. But what I do know is that we're being sold a bag of goods. And the proof and evidence, it's everywhere. Everywhere.
He gives us all the help we ever will need. All of us for us to do is to turn within and ask that help to show us. I remembered one of the most powerful things I ever had when I was young and had one of these broken relationships, and I was devastated and so on. That is crazy puppy love. I mean, today I laugh about it. But then again, I was young, I was stupid. I'm still stupid, but not young. But at that time, I just was devastated, and I was crying in bed and so on, and then suddenly the words I remembered says from our Father says, "Thy will be done." And I said these words in the crying tears, "Thy will be done." All right, you know better. I leave it to you. And that instant I said this, there was a wave of energy that came through me. It's just like they've been waiting for this, for me to realize that. And
They were waiting for him to realize it. They were waiting for him to realize it, to work at the behest of the Matrix marketing department, right? They, a group of beings.
It's a wave of energy that came through me. It's just like they've been waiting for this, for me to realize that. And I was so healed in that instant that I couldn't believe the sudden change in an instant when you suddenly says, "Thy will be done." The totally surrender to an energy that knows more about my life than I ever will do and knows far more better what is good for me. And this surrender is so powerful. And that's why I say, if you haven't developed
there's that word, that good old word, surrender. Surrender. One of the cringiest, most words in the Matrix. Surrender. Give up everything. Just surrender. Just do what you're told. Don't ask questions. Everything will be fine. Just surrender. Give up your entire sovereignty as a true essence being and hope that everything is as advertised. When you're basically, you see evidence all around you of a dumpster fire, just believe. Just hope that what's being sold is what it claims to be. Yeah, no problem.
And this surrender is so powerful. And that's why I say, if you haven't developed the intense relationship to divinity, maybe look into it. It really may come a time, and time may get more tougher on this planet, that you need it. And the sooner you start with it, the sooner the better.
You said something that was really interesting, and I've never heard anyone talk about this before. You said that the soul continues its evolution even on the other side. That here it's it's accelerated course, if you will, to learn. But on the other side, there is still learning, but it is a slower process. Can you dig into that a little? Because I've never heard of that concept. I've always wondered what happens to the souls when they're on the other side. Is there a bar they all go to and drink and talk about their lives? Are they watching movies? Are they watching us because we're entertaining as hell? I mean, what happens on the other side?
We're entertaining as hell. Ha ha, he he, ho ho, right? Yeah, we're entertaining, but where does that entertainment, where's the root cause of that entertainment? In the fun, the laughs, the love, the tragedy, the suffering, all that comes directly from a system that is claiming to be the almighty creator that has our back. And there's a life script involved, pre-birth planning, however you want to term it, right? And then we come here, we're memory wiped, which we're memory wiped before even the pre-birth planning phase even begins. But we're all playing out a literal script that we were hoodwinked into because we bought into the system, right? And at the same time, as you start to awaken more and more to the realization that the life script is very real, it's happening, then that life script gains less and less power. Less and less power. And that's so important. Because what you do is you take back your sovereignty. Yeah, you're still in the meat suit, you're still within the confines of the system. But at the same time, you're finally awakening to the truth of your power. You're breaking the script. And there's nothing more powerful than that, with the exception of, obviously, liberation at the time of natural death. I mean, that's like the ultimate, but still, I mean, you can look back at your life and realize like what an automaton you were. Yeah, you still had the ability to make decisions, and there was some free will there, but the free will opens up even more when you come to the realization, when you come to self-realization, when you come to like a more opening perspective about who and what you are, and that there is something rotten here, something wrong. And then once the discovery of the life script is realized, a lot of it shatters by the wayside. And then the next step is to ask yourself, how am I going to handle this mentally, right? How am I going to handle this and try to get by my day-to-day life with this in the back of my head, this realization? And every one of us handles it differently. But small things like daily affirmations, I talk about this a lot because they work, right? We are programmable beings, my friends. We can program ourselves to feel certain ways, to make sure that things that are difficult in life don't affect us as badly or eliminate them completely through things like daily affirmations. And, I use the term fake it till you make it, right? But believe in yourself. Now, I know there's a number of you out there who, may feel like affirmations are cringy or something like that, but I promise you, like if you do it every morning when you wake up, maybe you're taking a shower and you're repeating them, or maybe you're driving to work, whatever the case would be, just try to throw that in consistently for a few weeks, and you'll be shocked at how quickly you start to change your mindset and use that programming, that intention, to your advantage, and turn around your perception about what's going on, or about your daily life, not about what's going on, but about getting through the day to day, right? One of the most upsetting things I run across regularly is when someone comes to this information and they're trying to process it, trying to handle it, and having a rough go at it, right? All I can say is affirmations can help. Putting your intentions out there regularly help. Even potentially starting off a meditation practice, right? But I also like to put out there that meditation practice shouldn't be like always the first thing that someone does, because if you're in a bad place, then the affirmations should be one. Finding perhaps a good hypnotherapist should be another one. And then bringing on a meditation practice, maybe 3, 4, 6, 8 weeks into when you feel better, because of the affirmation, because of the hypnosis, or perhaps talk therapy if that's what you feel you need. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor at all, and I'm not giving any medical advice, but I'm just trying to throw out a few things there that have helped me, that I could speak of and relay to you in hopes that maybe it'll help some of you. So, don't let this information get you down, and don't consume too much of it either, right? I mean, you're not going to hear many YouTube channels say, "Oh, you don't have to listen to my channel," or this, that. And everyone can do their own research and come up with the conclusion. It may, depending on where you're at, may take a year or two, but the important thing is that you're taking care of yourself and that you allow yourself to take breaks. You remember, the information is going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there next week, next year. But don't let your mental health slip through the cracks because of what you're learning here and about the soul trap in general, right? Because remember, at the end of the road is a very positive thing, and that's liberation, sovereignty, non-interference. That's the positive of it. But we still have to get through day to day. So I hope this helps some of you out there.
I've heard a little bit in the near-death experiences. I've heard a couple of them state about, like a school-esque kind of environment and different rooms that they can go into. I'd love to hear what you've learned in your travels.
All of the above.
There are bars, there are movies, there are music.
Yes, there are, because they're on our planet Earth. There are a lot of what we call earthbound souls. And there are probably as many, 8 billion earthbound souls as there are human beings. They are running around us. Souls that have not been able to move on onto higher spheres, who believe that life on Earth is all there is, very strong. These souls are amongst us, and they influence us. And if they do have drugs, illness, drug desires, or whatever it is, they can influence us and they can live through us. I've got a video on called Spirit Possession. Spirit Possession is such an powerful and existing situation at the moment. Most people are not even aware of it. So many suicides come also from spirit possession and a lot of other things. So we do have souls who have died earthbound. They have not moved on because they are not educated enough. Their vibration is too low. They think this is it. And they also are attached to their vices. And the only way to live the vices is that they need a physical body. Since they no longer have a physical body, they use the physical body of you and me and make me this, I need a drink. And then I go to a drink and have a drink and so on. And they use that energy. They actually attach themselves to the neck and they use us to enjoy the drink, the alcohol. So we are manipulated by the spirit being. But that is the minority. It's not the majority. The majority moves on into the higher spheres. And we have got, in my video, I explained it, mainly 7 layers of spiritual layers. The lowest form is material. Material is nothing else than vibration. There's nothing else. I mean, we're only talking about vibration. The highest life form, divine love, is vibration. The lowest form, earth, matter, is also nothing else than vibration. There's nothing. We're only speaking about vibration. So they are then, depending on how their vibration of the soul is, it's like attracts like. They are coming to the various levels that correspond to their kind of energy. So that's where they are basically will move to once they have died here in the physical death. And they're surrounded by like-minded souls. And the stronger our belief system is, the stronger the souls are of similar beliefs. Like, for instance, if I'm a very strong believer in Muslim and so on, terrorism, then I'm moved immediately to that kind of people who are similar way. If I believe a very capitalist lifetime and only money, that could be that I'm moved to capitalist. If I believe another religion, if whatever my strongest belief is, that usually determines very much where I will land up amongst what type of souls I will be with at the time. And there education continues, the growth continues. The causal computer, which always brings us back the karma, which we have put in, will continue bringing me back the karma. There I will endure the pain and suffering as well as what I would do here on earth, but it will take much longer. So eventually the idea is then eventually return back to source energy, to God, in the absolute reality, but not giving up our identity as a soul or as a spirit being. We do not dissolve into the stream of God like Eastern teaching is, where we just sort of suddenly become nobody or become all or start all over again. No, we are eternal being. We are created eternally, and we return back to our angelic state. That was very long, was it? I'm sorry.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. No, it's a really, that's really interesting way. It's like, so depending on, so when Jesus passed or Buddha passed, they were at a very high vibration as masters, as walking masters. So they went up to a higher vibration. And from what I understand from my teachings, there are even higher vibrations to where Christ consciousness was when he first evolved. And there's higher levels, and there's levels that we don't even understand yet because we're not evolved to that level yet. And there were all
See, there's levels we don't understand yet. We have no clue about these levels. Open admission. They're just things we can't comprehend, we don't understand, but yet we're supposed to just blindly trust everything is advertised. Again, look at the world, look at the faulty programming of the meat suit, look at the insanity, the dumpster fire that is the Earth realm experience. And then you tell me if everything is love on the other side, and that God and creator or source or whatever you want to call it is just and on the mark, and that everything just aligns perfectly. If everything's love and light, then why the disconnect between the two worlds? Why the memory wipe? Why the endless reincarnations? If we're all creator beings and just whatever we're doing, right? Why such a vast disconnect? And why is there this assumption that good and evil or duality, all the sensory perceptions, the sensory connections that we have both here and have been confirmed in the astral? Just look at the light. Remember, the light, which is supposedly supposed to be God, creator, source, is A, responsible for the earth, B, also dishing out a sensory overload to us that is incapable of putting into words. Because time and time again, we hear ND ears, OB ears, we share death. I mean, look, we can go on and on about the different experiencer types that tell us over and over and over again that it's the most love that you'll ever feel in your life. You can pick the birth of your child, the day you got married, pick the most pinnacle loving moment, multiply it by 1,000,000, 1,000, 10,000, doesn't matter. It's not comparable to what you can experience on earth. So what does that kind of leave us with? It leaves us with us begging the question, what, maybe there's something sinister going on, right? Or the other option is just to buy it hook, line, and sinker and hope that what it's advertising, what is a fact, right? We have certain facts that we absolutely know are occurring. And everything I just described about the astral and the light, all that stuff is a fact. It's happening. It's true. And then what are the other facts? The other facts are we're living in the earth realm experience right here, right now. We've all gone through the process of birth to where we are now and see the state of the world. We also see the state of the world in the past, in history. And again, I always like to preface this by saying, regardless of what you believe about historic narratives, that doesn't matter. None of that matters. What does matter is that there is a consistent record of humanity being stomped on, a consistent record of humanity just going through suffering beyond imagination, right? Take everything that I just said into account and ask yourself honestly, do I just want to blindly trust that the systems in play, the earth to astral, the earth to the light pipeline, is as advertised? Do I want to buy that what they're selling is in fact true and that it's in my best interest? That's the big question. Common sense should dictate between everything that I just said that it would be nice to hope that everything is as advertised and that, we're not going to have to come back here and this and that and blah, blah. But the fact is reincarnation's a thing. The memory wipe's a thing. Past lives are a thing. Soul groups are a thing. Pre-birth planning is a thing. And then there's Earth. So, again, I ask, should we blindly just believe this, my friends? Or should we just stand up with sovereignty and liberation as our guiding force? And, of course, non-interference. We don't want to be interfered with. Again, why with deathbed vision, premonitions, visions, visitations, are our loved ones telling us that, they're gonna be back soon to join us and take us to the tunnel and to the light? Why are they saying that? And who's to say that that our loved ones are who they even claim to be in the first place? And why do they need to interfere with us leading up to our death and tell us what to do and that they're, quote, going to be here for us? They're an emotional trigger. They're a soul group trigger. And obviously because we love and care about them, we would trust them and go with them and not ask questions. The level of deception is insane. It's so well thought out. I have heard people say, and I'm not even joking, I've heard people say that someone who is trying to deceive us would do a much better job than what's going on here. I think that's the most insane. I've seen it a number of times. It's some of the most insane comments I've ever seen in my life. This system is so well thought out and so diabolical. It's not even funny. Seriously, it makes you wonder, when I see comments like that, it blows my mind. Blows my mind. And all you have to do is just look at the poor design of the human meat suit, the insanity of how humanity acts and can be programmed. That alone is a driving force. Then you set limitations within the environment, within the realm, right? The construct itself. Inherent limitations, not with just the body, but within the realm itself. Very low level consciousness of a drip of our essence seeps through. And if we're lucky enough, we'll come out of that haze. This isn't just well thought out. It's a masterpiece of deception, of epic proportions, and the evidence is all around us. And there's really, anyone who's new or otherwise on the fence, I promise you, if you just hang in there, do your own research, kind of see what I'm talking about here too, and really go through things. There's no other conclusion. I may have some small details here and there that are wrong, and I'm not saying I have the answer to everything. I promise I'm not that type of person. But the base concept seems pretty damn on point. And experiencer cases really tell us that. In beyond belief. They confirm one another. Different types. Again, like even when I was just mentioned, we're talking about NDEs, or if we're talking about deathbed premonitions, visions, visitations, shared death experiences. Those three things alone, pre-birth memories, life between lives, out-of-body experiences, and lucid dreaming. I mean, but like especially those first three things, those are the nail in the coffin where we have, no pun intended, the nail in the coffin where we have an abundance, and I'll use that New Age term, an abundance of evidence that speaks for itself. It doesn't need a rogue scholar to prove it. It speaks for itself. And everyone out there can find it. That's the beauty of the time that we chose to incarnate, is that all this information is readily available. It's just a matter of putting in the work. That's all. Anyways, rant's over.
But the Christ consciousness was much higher than anybody else hanging around here on this earth plane. And he slowly has been helping us, among other masters who've come back to help, to try to lift the vibration of the entire planet, which is kind of what I understand is happening now. The awakening is happening where conversations like this are becoming more mainstream and people are searching for these conversations, as opposed to in the Middle Ages that we would have both been burned at the stake.
Yeah, there is definitely an awakening happening place. There's no question about it. But there's also a lot of karma now coming back in a big, massive way.
Sure.
Everything comes now onto the table because it's a time to clean up. And as tough as it may look, but it's something we should embrace and do our best we can. But we have always these teachings which are given to us all the time. And what else is there? It's all in us. This is the thing. It's not really outside of us. It's all in us. And if we learn to be calm and quiet, as you said earlier with meditation.
It's all within us. But everything that has been discussed in this conversation is about external worship. So it's a blending of the two. Where, yeah, you go within, you may meditate, you may do this, you may do that. And you may connect, but you're connecting to a pipeline of the Matrix. Specifically, the Matrix marketing department. And they're just going to hope to keep you signed on for one more lifetime. And then all they have to do is memory wipe you one more time, and everything resets all over again.
It's all in us. This is the thing. It's not really outside of us. It's all in us. And if we learn to be calm and quiet, as you said earlier with meditation, whatever we need to know right now is given to us. We are every day. It's different to us. We have got different challenges every day. But if we go within, we find guidance of how to deal with every challenge we have. We are never alone, and we are always guided and helped.
Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all my guests.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define? What is your definition of living a good life?
A good life is aiming for freedom. That's for to become free of everything that binds me to this planet Earth in a negative way. I mean, this is sort of, it doesn't mean to be free of my beloved one, because love is not binding. It's linking. It's different. But anything that binds me, my habits, my belief patterns, whatever it is, what binds me to this planet, get free. Freedom. So the answer is to become.
Did you notice how he said, love doesn't bind us? Now, look, I want to be very, very clear when I talk about love. There's nothing wrong with enjoying love and embracing it while you're here. It's when you're leaving here that love is taking advantage of you. Okay, that's the difference. So I find it interesting that, like, it's not love though.
It's different. But anything that binds me, my habits, my belief patterns, whatever it is, what binds me to this planet, get free. Freedom. So the answer is to become free again.
How do you define God?
God is the all-love, the all-powerful God Spirit. It has many, many names. In my video on the Everything is Energy, because our human vocabulary is rather limited. To find a real word for God is limited, but we have got different names. We have got Holy Spirit, we have got divinity, we have got the ether power, the life force, many, many words for it. That is for me what a God is. This is basically where we come from, what we are made of, and where we return to.
And what is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life is perpetual evolution. Not only ourselves, but the whole creation is continuously evolving.
The wheel. No, the purpose of life is to figure out that you need to achieve liberation, a sovereign liberation through non-interference. What else could it be? Liberation has been the answer for many years, especially in the Eastern tradition. It's not hidden, it's skewed, and there's a ton of roadblocks in the way of that liberation because the system knows that liberation is what everyone truly wants. And so the system sets up roadblocks that keep you very, very close to the answer, but cut you off just at the point where you're not going to achieve it. Because if you continue to stay within those certain belief systems and don't realize your true power, don't realize that you're a sovereign being and capable of making your own choices, your own decisions, then it's got you. It's got you. As long as you're looking exterior to some guru, some God, some source, some creator, something, it's got you. That's the problem.
And what is the ultimate purpose of life?
The ultimate purpose of life is perpetual evolution. Not only ourselves, but the whole creation is continuously evolving. So we are part of this evolvement once we are back, and the whole absolute reality is continuously evolving and getting bigger and bigger. And we are part of this. We are part of this very exciting process of returning back to creation, where more planets and everything is continuously created, and it continuously grows, and it continuously more growing awareness, growing intelligence, growing consciousness. So that is very exciting.
And Hans, where can people find out more about you and the work that you're doing?
All right, my friend. So I think that's going to wrap things up for this evening, this Saturday. Before we close things out, I really want to, again, give a big intention bomb to our good friend Dan at Overwatch channel and Overwatch project. He's having a rough go at it right now, and it's really not my place to say anything further, and I want to make sure that he does that on his own time when he's up for it. And but just know that Dan can really use your positive energy, your intentions, right? This entire week, okay? This entire week. So please send that out to him. Everybody, he's got a family, and he's gonna do fine. But at the same time, I want to make sure he gets through what he's got to get through. So, all right. The monthly members live stream is going to be for this month, not the last Sunday of the month. It's going to be December 17th on a Sunday. So I just want to put that out there because usually it's the last Sunday of every month, but we'll do it because it lands on a holiday 2 weekends in a row, 2 Sundays in a row. We're going to do it on the 17th. So that'll be 2 weeks from today or whatever. It's after midnight. So technically, yeah, 2 weeks, 2 Sundays from now, whatever. All right. And I may see you in the middle of the week for a stream. If it's not this week, maybe next week. I'm gonna be doing some midweek streams during December. I'm not sure which dates exactly, but and then when Dan comes back, we're gonna have a good chat, and I'm sure he's gonna talk more on his channel. Don't forget to go subscribe to him. Overwatch channel on YouTube, Overwatch Project on Odyssey, and then overwatchproject.com. And yeah, so thanks everybody for tuning in. If you don't mind hitting the like button on the way out, I greatly appreciate it. Might help get these videos into more feeds. And I do have a YouTube backup channel. And I have a Truth in Gaming channel that's available both, it's available here on YouTube and Rumble, but most of the videos right now are only on YouTube. And then there's a Clown World channel where it's just a fun channel just to have some good laughs. I haven't put anything out there yet. I meant to do it last month, but haven't. But that's going to be exclusive to Odyssey and Rumble. It won't be available on YouTube. You can find the links to all that stuff in the description. There's also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram where I normally put out notifications about an hour or so, or maybe sooner, before the streams go live. So I think that should wrap things up. And if you're interested in getting some extra content each month, I do offer memberships available on YouTube and Odyssey. There's a couple years worth of videos out there. And your support's always appreciated but never expected. Take care of yourselves. Don't work too hard. And probably see you in the middle of the week, if not next weekend. Much love to y'all. Take care of yourselves. And again, don't work too hard. Work the minimum, make the maximum. All right, my friends. Thank you.